Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Fairy Dust TV. I'm your host, Jen Burton, romantic fairy godmama to smart, successful, single women around the world. Today's topic is for all of you ladies who would like to know the real reason dating makes women so uncomfortable. And before I dive into today's topic, I want to say that I have so much to say on this topic that I'm gonna follow my notes quite closely because I could really go off on a tangent. This is such an important topic, and something that I don't think most women truly understand why they dislike dating so much in their life. So with that said, again, I'm just gonna let you know I'm following notes today very closely so that we can stay on topic, and I'll probably end up actually making another video on this at some point because it is such an in-depth topic, but something that you need to know because, believe it or not, it is keeping you from the love life that you really want. It is time for you to understand why dating makes you so uncomfortable. Okay, the real reason dating makes women so uncomfortable, and I'm just going to dive in and say the first number one reason is that most women are not comfortable with their romantic power. They are not truly comfortable with being wanted by men. So let me elaborate on that a little bit. As women, our part of our power, part of our nature, really, we're something that we're born with is that we drive romance. We drive more so than men do what's going on in our romantic realm. It's easy for us to put the blame on guys and say that this guy did this or this guy did that, but the truth is that we're so uncomfortable with dating because we have very little understanding of how much romantic power we actually possess. And then another piece of that is that these days we are truly uncomfortable with being wanted and desired by men, even though, again, it's part of our power. We have become so accustomed, and I love this about us ladies, so don't mistake what I'm saying for me taking a shot at women for doing this, but we have gotten so accustomed to playing in a man's world, and working in a very masculine paradigm that femininity is not, we don't really understand our femininity anymore. So we're doing things, we're about producing, we're about climbing, we're about achieving, which again, I love about all of us, but that feminine piece of us is truly being neglected. That receiving piece of us, that piece that's wanted by everybody, that piece that's seductive, and I'm not talking about just sexually seductive. I'm talking about that resonates and draws in, and not just men in, but draws the world in. We're missing that piece of us these days because we're so focused on using the male paradigm of achieving, doing, getting, and not really leaning back into this truly important power that we possess. Now, I'm going to use a quote from Nelson Mandela, and it talks about the world in general, but I'm going to reference it back to us women in this specific instance because it does pertain specifically to what we're going through. And Nelson Mandela said it. He said it so beautifully. He said, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us." Okay? So, as human beings, we do play small. As women, romantically, we play super small. And again, it's because we're not comfortable with that power. We're not comfortable knowing that we can tip the scales of love into our favor. And before we can talk about even how you can do those things, you have to acknowledge the fact that you aren't comfortable with that. So for instance, I was talking about being desired by men earlier. Women shut down their ability to recognize or get annoyed by men wanting them because of the fact it feels so overwhelming. When the truth is that we are going to be wanted by many different men in our lives. And as we disconnect from that, we many times hurt our romantic opportunities and push away other romantic opportunities because we're neglecting that piece of us, a piece that thrives. We as women thrive in being desired. Now, there's more to it, but I want you to start with that basic understanding. We thrive in being desired. And the more that we can step into it and own it and know how to use it in the right way, the happier you will start to become and the better romantic relationships that you can create and truly create everything that you want romantically. All right, going to number two of the real reason dating makes women uncomfortable is another piece of this is that we think he will misinterpret our vulnerability for weakness. Okay, so again, as we've been working in the male paradigm for some time now, and which is great as women, you know, the feminine revolution, I am so happy that we women get to do the things that we want to do these days. But as we've stepped into that, which is actually stepping into more of a male paradigm of achieving, doing, being, we have gotten less and less comfortable with our vulnerability. Meaning, we think any sign of vulnerability these days is automatically going to be conceived as weakness. And when you're afraid to be vulnerable because you think you're going to be not conceived, I said conceived earlier, perceived as weak, well, that's automatically going to shut you down even more and going to make you uncomfortable with dating per se, because then you're always worried that somehow he's going to take advantage of you. It's going to put you on hyper alert. So I want you to start to understand that your vulnerability is actually a very sexy piece of you. And as long as you couple your vulnerability with good boundaries, then you are not going to ever be perceived as weak for being vulnerable. Again, as long as you couple vulnerability with good boundaries, you will never be perceived as weak or displaying weakness. Okay? Especially not in a man's eyes who's going to love, adore, and cherish you. Moving on to number 3. When I first start working with women, it's very common that they come to me with tons of misconceived notions about what men want and what society wants for women. Those two things, okay? For instance, and I can get extraordinarily passionate about this part because sometimes it just frankly pisses me off. I hear women say shit all the time about what men want and this and that. And the truth is that they don't have any clue. They really, truly don't have any clue. They base one instance that they had with a guy to stereotype and classify all guys. And that is just a really poor way to perceive men. So for instance, and I said I get very passionate about this, but I also got really pissed off. This morning I read something on Instagram and about flipped my shit. It said, all a real man want to do is make his money and come home to a clean crib, some cooked food, and some banging sex from a beautiful woman he can trust. And I'm like, what the? Seriously. This angered me so much. Okay, first off, this woman was classifying real men as men who are making money. I like that. I'm okay with that, but that doesn't make a guy a real man. And it's also discounting that women want to be out there making money as well. And then she's also saying that all a real man wants to do is make money, come home to a clean crib, cooked food, and some banging sex from a beautiful woman. Now, do some men like this? Heck yeah, they do. Do all men want precisely this? No. In fact, my husband and I, we have a very different dynamic. We are both out there making money, and sometimes he comes home to a very messy house, and sometimes he'll clean it himself, and sometimes I do, and the roles switch all the time. So not only is she trying to define a real man in this way, which is total BS and a misconceived notion about what men want, and it's that shit that society has out there for us and other women are confirming about what men want. This also, I want you to think about, what does this say about a woman's place which aggravates me to another level. So again, I was talking about our feminine movements and feminism, especially here in the United States and on all of our and all the different countries that this has become, that we women have come so far. What we're trying to still say in society is somehow, and it's women saying it too. It's not like it's just guys. It's actually women saying, oh, well, our place is still in the home. It's still our job to cook, clean, and be porn stars for our men. So no wonder women don't like dating. When you have that kind of pressure put upon you, it's an enormous undertaking. There's nothing fun about that. It's all about his terms and nothing about yours. But here's the thing. Again, I told you in the first place, what most women don't recognize is that you have all the romantic power. You have most of the romantic say-so. When you know what you're doing in your romantic life, that whole dynamic can change. Now, if you're a woman who likes to cook, clean, and have some wild sex with your guy, I have no problem with that whatsoever. But I work with smart, professional women around the world, and they have their other goals in mind as well, and it's not just about him, and that's okay. So I mentioned just a second ago, what's really important too is that you know what you're doing. I want to tell you that a very huge reason why so many women are so uncomfortable with dating is that they've never been taught how to date. They've never been taught how to appropriately manage male attention. So, okay, for instance, I teach something that's called mantourage dating, which is essentially dating more than one man at a time until you find your forever man. Most women are never taught how to do this because they're taught a very broken system of meet a guy, and then you get rid of all of your options. You date this guy for a set amount of time. You put all of your energy, you invest in him, you neglect your friends, your family, your work, and it's all about him. And then all of a sudden he disappears and she freaks out, and then she goes through heartbreak for several months and swears off dating and then decides to put her toe back in the water again and rinse and repeat that whole cycle. Again and again and again. It's the most unfun way you can date ever. I know, because I used to do it. I know because I have women from all around the world who have been doing it and come to me and say that they're tired of it. It's enough. Okay? So, again, it's about once you start to learn how to appropriately manage male attention, there's three things. You need to know what to say, what to do, and what to know and understand in reference to men. When you don't feel like you have any basic understanding or know-how on any of those things, you are going to hate dating. But that's why I am here, Jen, your romantic fairy godmama, to teach you all those different things so you can shake up the whole status quo in dating and understand what I know, which is dating is meant to rock your life. Dating is meant to be fun. Yes, you will have some hiccups. Yes, you will have some funny stories to tell about some really strange guys afterwards. But this dating, mantourage dating, understanding, knowing, doing, saying, doing it all differently than you've been doing can flip this whole script for you and make the most magical, incredible, romantic experiences possible. So, lover girl, I get it. And like I said, I could keep going on, and I am convinced at this point, after making this episode, that I'm going to do another episode about the reasons that women find dating so uncomfortable. I truly get why you feel uncomfortable, but you have to know that the power to start to become comfortable with dating starts with addressing these things that I've talked to you about today. Once you address those and you start to redirect that energy and start to learn a different way to be in dating. I don't know what dating is, but it must be interesting too. But once you start being a different way in dating and really honoring that profound romantic piece of you, then all bets are off of what's possible for you romantically. Okay, lover girl, I'll see you in the next episode of Fairy Dust TV. Bye for now. Ciao.